Hello, this is Catherine Dubberly, the Answer Lady. I'm a big fan of Kiss Looms. I greatly enjoy mine, and I am cooperating with Kelly at Kiss Looms to make you a playlist of all the basic techniques that you might ever want to know on all of the looms. So welcome and enjoy. Let's talk for a minute about knitting sleeves from the top down. This one was done from the top down. The ribbing is finished and I'm ready to bind off. Here is the anatomy of a sleeve for a drop-shouldered sweater. It's sort of a triangle with the top that goes to the shoulder seam straight across, tapering down each side and ending in ribbing that goes at your wrist. Normally we start at the ribbing and our instructions might be something like this. Increase every other row. EOR usually stands for every other row. 10x would mean 10 times. Comma would mean then, after completing the 10 times. Every fourth row, 10 times. The increases on a sleeve are symmetrical, so it would really mean increase one on each side every other row those times, and then every fourth row those times. Now, there are some reasons we might want to start at the top. And that is, for one thing, if you just really would rather seam your cast on into the shoulder seam. You also have a little bit of leeway in adjusting the length if you want to see how it's going. You have to be a somewhat advanced knitter to do that as you go, but it is an option. And some people like to finish with the ribbing because the bind off can be a very attractive lower edge for the ribbing. So if you wanted to do that, it's not in most patterns, but you can use the information that is in most patterns to tell you how to do it. You're going to have a number of stitches to cast on. In my patterns, if it's a ribbed edge, they're nearly always an uneven number of stitches, say 41. And there are reasons for that. I prefer the stitch on each side to be a knit stitch with alternate purl stitches in between, and that requires an odd number. So you started with 41 stitches, and we want to know how many there are up here, because if we start from the top down, that's what you need to cast on. We increased on each side every other row 10 times, and one increase on each side would actually be 2 stitches for those 10 times. So that would be my 41 original stitches plus 20 stitches. Then every fourth row 10 times. That's another 20 stitches, right? So we would have 81 stitches in this example. This is not anybody's real sleeve, it's just an example. Therefore, to begin, we would cast on 81 stitches. STS usually stands for stitches. And then you would change your instructions to be decrease one on each side every other row. But since this every other row was supposed to occur down here, and every fourth row was supposed to occur up here, you just switch the order of them. You would decrease one every fourth row on each side 10 times, and then one every other row on each side 10 times, and then you would be ready to work your ribbing. One more reason that people sometimes like to do this is because decreases make a somewhat neater edge than increases do. Now, here's what you need to remember if you decide to do this. This sleeve is already done and can serve as an example. You want to find a nice, happy medium. You want a neat edge here, but you have to be able to put your hand through it, and it's got to stretch enough to do that. So let's bind off. You can use any method you like for the bind off. The method that I am using for this example, and this is a real sweater by the way, is I'm using a latch tool. This is really a machine knitting tool. This one I made from scratch. I've got a few stitches bound off already. So there's one stitch on my hook, picking up another stitch, pulling a new loop through them, and trying to make my tension adjusted in such a way that I'm pretty sure my hand will go through, but I still get a neat edge. If you drop a stitch as I just did, you just pick it up again. It's no biggie. One nice thing about this method is that if I mess it up and I discover it's too tight or too loose after I've done it, I can just pull it out like that. Now I have these loose stitches that I've got to neatly pick up and relatch. But I will get a chance to test it for fit around my hand before I finish the whole thing. I just wanted you to be aware of that.